Eurovision fam, it's Alesia Michelle. Play. Hey, what, Eurovision 2019, I got a new video. Alesia Michelle, I'm ready to go. Eurovision fam, are you ready for the show? Hey Eurovision fam, this is gonna be a very exciting day because we have to talk semifinal 1 predictions. Now, I'm not a psychic, but making some predictions is a little bit fun, right? Look, a lot of people are saying that semifinal 1 isn't as tough as semifinal 2, but I do think that semifinal 1 still is kind of complicated because you have a lot of songs that are kind of in the same category. In my opinion, we've got the unique artists. They all kind of have like the same vibe a little bit. And I do think the grouping in semifinal 1 really makes it kind of a toss-up. It might not necessarily be like the semifinal of death, because semifinal 2 I definitely think is a little bit more competitive, but I will say I think semifinal 1 is a little bit tricky because it's just like, man, there's a lot of songs that could be at risk of not qualifying, and that's not necessarily because they aren't good, but it really is just a toss-up kind of to see how these songs compare. I think the running order in semifinal 1 is also really complicated. Yeah, I feel like the running order in semifinal 1 is making things a little bit tricky. You know, it's weird because I always tell people that I don't really think running order makes that big of a difference until it does. It's kind of one of those weird, tricky things where it's like, well, if it's a good song, who cares where it'll fall? Like, if they have a good song, it's performed well, you got great staging, it'll stand out no matter what. Until it does matter, because we've definitely seen the running order clearly hurt some entries, and I don't think it's necessarily this deciding factor of the top and the bottom, but I do think it can be the deciding factor for a lot of those songs that might kind of fall in the middle. And then when you have those songs that are kind of on the cusp, like they're about to make the final, but they might just be a couple of points off, and had they maybe come at a more ideal time, you would have had people at home remember it more and maybe have the opportunity to vote for it more. You might have had juries kind of go, okay, like I really got to make sure that I keep this one in the running and I rank this one. So it's weird because I think that running order doesn't really matter until it matters, if it makes any sense. These are the countries that I definitely think, no matter what, are going to qualify, okay? We've got Cyprus. Yeah, Cyprus is probably going to qualify. Iceland, you know, I had misgivings about Iceland. I had misgivings about its overall appeal because, you know, it is out there and it is a lot visually and sonically. So I was like a little bit on the fence about it, but I'm thinking that because it is sort of out there visually and sonically, that it will end up being able to qualify. So Iceland, I'm saying you're qualifying. Australia. Look, I know there are some people who are nervous for Australia this year, but I just think that this act, Kate MILLER-HEIDKE, it's just her vocal. I think the stage show is going to be great. We know Australia knows how to stage. So I really think that staging-wise, this is going to deliver, and it is going to be impactful for folks at home. So I know some people were like a little bit nervous, and I definitely think there were some haters saying that like,
oh, Australia's definitely not qualifying this year.
But like now that you've kind of gotten over the fact that like 2000 and whatever isn't representing Australia, I think a lot of those people that were kind of hating on Zero Gravity have kind of quieted a little bit, just because I mean, at the end of the day, what she is doing vocally is so impactful. This staging is going to be impactful. She's going to look great on stage. I do think Australia is going to be in the final this year. And to be honest, even if the televote didn't want to help it out, the jury would put it there. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. So we shall see. Next up, I'm going to say that Greece is qualifying. I do think Greece is going to qualify this year. I think the staging, I'm being super hopeful. I know Greece let me down last year, and they let you down too, because frankly, we were really rooting for that song, and the song was so great, and honestly, what killed it was the staging, or I should say the lack thereof. But I think this year, I think we're going to have a stage show. I think it's going to be really thoughtful, and I am confident that KATERINE is going to give us an amazing vocal. I'm pretty confident in that. So Greece, I think you're qualifying. Okay, so now I'm getting into my place where I have countries that I would like to see qualify. qualify, but I'm not quite sure if they will. So before I even do that, I'm just gonna go ahead and say who I think the non-qualifiers are gonna be and just like get that out of the way. I don't think San Marino's gonna qualify. They've got great running order. I think the song is fun, but look, I don't think that this is going to be in the final. If it got to the final, it'd be a miracle, and I think kind of on the backs of televoters, maybe, who just are like, hey, let's just give them a shot, because the song is fun. It is quality. It's not a bad track, and you know, really, it could have been a hot mess, and it's not. It's a fun, well-produced song, and I think we're gonna have a fun, well-produced stage show to go along with it. But at the end of the day, I don't think that San Marino is going to qualify, and I mean, I'm cool with that. Are you cool with that? Yeah, I'm cool with that. Next up for my definite non-qualifiers, it's Georgia. I don't think Georgia's going to qualify. I do think Otto is selling the mess out of this song. I think he is singing it. I think that they will give us a stage show. I don't think that this will be like nothing staging. I do think that we are going to have a decent enough stage show, hopefully with some pyro just to amp it up when we get, you know, to that climax in the song. And that's one thing I really do like about the song. The song is taking us somewhere. It is a journey, and we are going somewhere. It is telling a story, but ultimately, is it Eurovision competitive in this year's competition? I don't think so. So I'm going to go ahead and say Georgia's probably not going to qualify. Next up for definite non-qualifiers, it's Montenegro. Look, Montenegro, Damal, they're not going to qualify, and that's okay. It's totally fine. It's totally fine. I think with the revamp, we at least got something more elevated than where we started. But look, I mean, if you think that there is a pathway for Montenegro to qualify, you can feel free to drop down in the comments, because it's a fantasy that I just don't think is going to come to reality. Next up for a definite non-qualifier from my perspective, I'm gonna have to go and put Belarus in there. I know it's a guilty pleasure for some of you guys. I know some of you really like it and feel like this song is underrated. And to be honest, I kind of agree with you that I do think the song is slightly underrated. And I say that because I think if Russia was sending this, I think if Sweden was sending this song, I don't think it would be where it is. But I do think that it will be performed well. I think we're gonna get a good stage show. And, you know, I like it. I think it's actually really cute, and I like ZENA's vocal. I think she's singing and she's delivering the song well. But at the end of the day, I think looking back, even historically speaking, and historically speaking of the last couple of years, I think those solo female artists, songs in this genre typically don't perform that well. Even though I really think it's a cute track and I think she looks good, and I think that we are going to have a nice, decent stage show, I'm pretty confident that Belarus is not going to qualify. But I'm not going to say that I think that this is like bottom worthy. I don't think that this is the worst track in the semifinal, but I don't think it's enough to make it into the final, and I don't think that it'll even end up being borderline. I'm just not getting that sense of it yet. Okay, so now we're gonna go back. Of my definite qualifiers, I have Cyprus, I have Iceland, I have Australia, I have Greece. So yeah, so actually I've got 5 slots left. So I'm just gonna fill these slots quickly with what I would put there if I had my way and I was a jury of one and televote body of one. I'm gonna go ahead and say that I definitely feel like Portugal should be in the final. I think it deserves to be in the final. It's in my final. I will be very upset if Portugal does not qualify. I really do feel like Portugal should and needs to be in the final. And look, I understand that the song is divisive for some of you, but at the end of the day, what Conan is bringing is something unique. It is something that I think deserves to be in the Eurovision Grand Final, and I think that this is something that, you know, may need a little bit of help from some of the juries to elevate it a little bit. This is like next level music. This is not just the music of today, this is the music of tomorrow, and Eurovision has the opportunity to be, I think, on the right side of history, as opposed to kind of fulfilling that stereotype that they've had for so long of being like dated and behind the curve. I think that Eurovision has done a lot in the last couple of years to be very forward thinking, and I just really hope that that trend continues. And from my perspective, it's very difficult for that trend to continue when you don't honor and reward songs like Portugal's, because it is out there, it is different, but at the same time, it is bringing in so many different genres. It's just good, and it's art, and it should be rewarded. And if a jury of music professionals cannot honor that, like, I don't know what your function is. Like, what are you then here for? Because it's not just to pick out, like, the radio-friendly tracks that we think will make money. That's not what it's about. I'm also gonna say Slovenia, kind of for the same reasons as Portugal, but I also think that Slovenia has the opportunity to create a moment. I think it could be very different. I think there's something about this act that could act almost as like a palate cleanser. I do feel like it could not qualify. I could totally see that happening, and I mean, this is one of those songs that if it doesn't qualify, I'm gonna be bummed. I won't be pissed because I could kind of get it, because I do realize how some people feel like it's really monotonous, and I do think with the staging, it's not a whole bunch going on. I think that works. I think that works to its advantage, but at the end of the day, I recognize that there's going to be a lot of other high impact things happening on the stage, and so I understand if some people don't really gravitate and latch onto this in the way that they would need to propel this to be in a position where it would just safely qualify, so I get that. But I do think that there is a pathway for Slovenia to qualify, and it would be in my final. So that's mine that I know is on the fence, but here we are. I'm gonna go ahead and say that although I think this song is in trouble, I do think it's gonna qualify, and I'm gonna say Estonia. I think Estonia could struggle. I definitely think it could struggle. But at the end of the day, I do think that there is a path for it to make it through. I think about the first time that I heard and saw Estonia's performance, and I was like, I was in love. I thought that it was great. Now, I will say, I think over time, I've kind of lost a little bit of that magic that I had the first time that I listened to it. But when I think about people at home watching this and Eurovision voters, most of them probably haven't seen it before. So with that said, I do think that Estonia does have a path, although I think it'll be tricky. And I think it's going to be complicated for them to qualify. And if they do, they really might be on the cusp. And if they don't qualify, I think they might be on the cusp. But I don't necessarily see this at the bottom. But again, I also don't really see it at the top too. Now, I will say if Estonia does not qualify for the grand final, for me, the only thing that would make me feel happy about that is if Poland ended up qualifying. And I say Poland because I think Poland is on the cusp. I think Poland could be in trouble this year. However, I think they are giving us something different. I think they're giving us something unique. I think this act will stand out. I think people will remember it, and I think people will remember it to the point where they are willing to pick up their phone and call and vote for Poland, which is really important. I also think that juries will find a way to kind of appreciate this act as well, because production-wise and musicality-wise, I do think what they're doing is different, and I do think it is worthy of some jury points, and it is worthy of being in the top 10, I think, from this semifinal for some jurors. So if Estonia is not in there, I would like to see Poland in there at minimum. And of course, if Estonia is not in there, then obviously I want Portugal in there too. But yeah, I would be willing to trade that in. I really would like to have Czech Republic in the grand final. I like the song on first listen. I have loved every single live performance that they've done. I don't think that there is any type of song really like this year. I think what they're doing, it really does remind me, I get kind of the same vibe as I did of A Friend in London. Come on, boys, come on, girls. Like, just something that's feel good, it's upbeat, and it does have the ability to be impactful and kind of stick in your mind and so that you don't forget it. I hope that Czech Republic makes it, but if Czech Republic does not make it in, I am wondering if Finland does, because I kind of have Finland on the cusp for me. I don't necessarily have Finland in my grand final as of now. I'm just not seeing the path as clear as it could be, and I think the path is a little bit clearer for some other songs. But I will say this, I'd be willing to have Finland in my grand final, and although I hate to say this, I think I'd be willing to leave Hungary in the dust. I like Hungary's song. The issue is, I mean, Origo was a better song, in my opinion. And I hate to say this, but I'm just going to put it out there. The Middletons, Roses, would have been in my top 10 for Eurovision this year, probably. I'm not going to lie. I think Roses would have been in my top 10 this year. And it's complicated because I do actually like Hungary's song this year. I like the melody. There's definitely merit to it. But again, kind of with the sleepiness of Sebi, this song, there is a meditative quality about it that might hurt it and might make it become so sleepy that it doesn't really stand out and it doesn't propel people to call. And honestly, I think the juries could largely make this qualify. But what I'm concerned about for Hungary this year is the televote. But I will say this. I do think Hungary has qualified with less and in some trickier years. Because I would point out Hungary 2016, although I liked the song, I don't know if it needed to be in the final that year because we left some decent ones in the semi. Because Hungary has qualified before, I'm kind of putting it in there. And I've got one more spot left. And this song, I'm going to tell you, Serbia could qualify. There are people who really love this song. It will be sung well. It will be performed well. My only issue with the song, and it's not even an issue, really my only fear with the entry is the fact that this is a more complicated year. And if I'm being honest, I would trade in Serbia qualifying for Belgium. Because when I first heard Belgium's song to now, I get the same feelings, I get the same emotions. I think this year Belgium will be staged properly. I feel visually that Belgium is going to come together in a way that is going to be very professional. It's going to be almost like thematic. I think there's something about this. It seems like it could be like a song in a movie, like some big climactic scene in a movie. I really think that Belgium, if staged correctly, will be so impactful that it just works. I mean, there's no mystery. I really loved City Lights when Belgium did City Lights. I know that some people had issues with like Blanche's vocal leading up to it, but at the end of the day, I think people really just latched onto that song because the song was so good. And I do think Belgium could be on the fence this year, but I'm thinking that they might find themselves in the final because I think there's just going to be something that happens kind of magically with the staging, the song, ELIOT, really good intimate camera shots, and then when we zoom out, it's going to be some impactful visuals that we're going to get on the stage. And honestly, I hope that for the song. But if it doesn't qualify, it'll be because it ends up becoming lackluster. And we might have some love for Serbia kind of elbowing its way in like, not so fast. I'm coming through with this bomb vocal. Because, yeah, Serbia's song, it's strong this year. It's good. It's impactful. But the reason why I'm giving the edge to Belgium over, like, Serbia is really because of how I think it's going to end up being staged in the end. So my definite non-qualifiers that I feel pretty confident are not going to qualify are Belarus, Montenegro, Georgia, and San Marino. The songs that I'm putting on the fence because I'm just concerned how it's going to be kind of received in a wider audience. My fence songs, I've got a couple of songs on the fence, but these are the songs that I'm like, after maybe seeing some of the rehearsals, I might be like, oh no, definitely this one's qualifying, this is not, so I can feel like a little bit more solid about it. But on the fence, I've got Poland, Finland, and Serbia. I think that those countries are going to struggle a little bit to qualify. I think Serbia's in the best position of those, honestly, and I think Finland a close second. of like in the position where, because honestly, I thought that the national selection staging was really good. The only issue with it was we needed tighter camera angles. Those camera angles were not intimate enough, and maybe the stream I was looking at was different, but it's like the video that I was looking at didn't even really look that HD. So really we just need to clean up those camera angles, and then the moments where we want to zoom out and show the audience like jamming like they're at some EDM concert, really figuring out those moments, because I do like Finland's song, but I could see why Finland might struggle, especially looking back kind of historically speaking where Finland kind of lands. But I do think that this is better than some of the other songs that Finland has had that have struggled, you know, because this one is a little bit stronger, I think. And finally, these are my predictions. So these are my folks that I'm saying I think will qualify: Cyprus, Iceland, Slovenia, Australia, Greece, Portugal, Belgium, Hungary, Czech Republic, and Estonia. I think Estonia has the potential to sneak their way in. So what do you think about my predictions? Talk to me in the comments below. Do you agree with me? Talk to me in the comments below. Do you disagree with me? That's okay too. Talk to me in the comments below. This is a conversation, and you know it. I'm going to Tel Aviv. You should be too. I am also doing a meet and greet in Tel Aviv, Israel. So please be sure to connect with me on social media. I'm going to be doing a meet and greet, and we are actually going to get to go live together. You don't want to miss your opportunity to go live with me and party with me. We're going to have a good time, okay? Don't forget to like and to subscribe. And you know it. Let's get excited for Eurovision 2019. Bye.